get familiar. So if you don't know by now, then you should probably get familiar.
Hello students, welcome back to my educational video channel Dr. Physics by DYSP. Okay, now in this video let us discuss the part B of second chapter. So that is different forms of energy. Okay, so different forms of energy, so various types of energies we can see in the nature, like mechanical energy, solar energy, wind energy, sound energy, light energy, electrical energy, etc. So let us discuss these different forms of energies one by one. Okay, now let us consider first what is mechanical energy. Okay, in this video, so let us consider the form of energy as a mechanical energy. So particularly we consider this energy as the energy possessed by a body due to its state of rest or of motion. Means if you consider a body, so it always possesses certain mechanical energy. So due to its state of rest, or suppose if it is in motion, you have to consider its state of motion also. Okay, so particularly we can distinguish the two types of mechanical energies as potential energy and kinetic energy, right? So if the energy possessed by a body due to the state of the rest, due to its size, okay, shape, etc., then that particular energy is considered as potential energy. The body is having potential energy. Suppose if the body is moving due to the force applied on it, then the moving body will have the kinetic energy, correct? So let us see some examples. See, a body placed at a height above the ground. Okay, so the moment you leave the support, what happens? It is just falling down due to the gravitational force of attraction, right? So when it is placed before moving, what is the energy possessed by the body? So that energy is called actually the potential energy. And similarly, if you consider the spring, if you compress the spring, okay, what happens? So you will see that compressed position. So due to its state of position in the compressed state, we will have certain energy. What is that energy? Potential energy. Why? Because the moment you leave the applied force, the spring will come back to its original shape, right? It is regaining its original shape by itself. So that means it is having certain energy when it is in compressed state. Similarly, a bent bow, okay, so forcibly you are bending a bow and it is tied to the string. So that bent bow will have certain energy. So that is the potential energy. Stretch string also, okay, forcibly you are bending the bow and tying a stretched string between the two ends of the bow. Okay, the string is also having the energy called potential energy. Okay, similarly, if you consider some examples for kinetic energy, say a fast moving stone can break the window glass. Why? Because it has certain energy. That energy is called kinetic energy, right? So a fast moving stone will have kinetic energy. And similarly, a car in motion and a moving hands of a clock, okay, continuously it is moving, right? So that moving hands of the clock. And then a bullet, okay, fired from a gun, okay, it has certain energy. It can make the holes, okay, on any wall. If you fire the bullet, it can make the hole. So because of its kinetic energy. And moving ball kicked by a player, okay, so that is also having kinetic energy. In general, we can say a body which is at rest will possess the potential energy. If the body is moving, so that moving objects will have the kinetic energy. So combined together, so potential energy plus kinetic energy, in general we call it as mechanical energy. Clear? Okay, now let us focus on particularly what is potential energy. Okay, so we have the potential energy in the two forms again. Either it may be a gravitational potential energy or elastic potential energy. Okay, so depending upon the examples what we have discussed, you can classify them as the gravitational potential energy or elastic potential energy. Now let us say what is gravitational potential energy first. So potential energy possessed by a body due to the force of attraction of earth on it, So the potential energy of any body due to its state of rest particularly and acted upon by the force of gravity of the earth only. Okay, So that kind of energy possessed by a body is said to be gravitational potential energy. That means suppose if a body is at certain height, okay, so let us consider the body is at infinity. So what is the amount of work done to bring the body from infinity to the earth? Okay, so because the energy basically indirectly depends upon the work done. Okay, so work done in bringing a body from infinity to the earth, let us calculate in that way. So force into displacement, right? So that is called work done. So that particular amount of work done can be considered as a potential energy. Okay, in this particular example, so work is done on a body by the earth itself, gravitational attractive force by the earth itself. So you have to consider that work done as negative work done here, so that the potential energy is considered as always negative. Okay, the value is negative. So suppose if the body is at infinity, okay, what is the gravitational potential energy? So we have to consider it as 0 at infinity. Why? What is the gravitational force acting on the body at infinity? So that is equal to 0. So because Fg is equal to 0, so we cannot express any work done on it. So corresponding gravitational potential energy is equal to 0 when the body is at infinity with 0 gravitational force acting on it. Clear? Similarly, if you consider the body on the surface of the earth also, suppose if it is lying on the surface of the earth, what is the gravitational potential energy you say? So that is also 0. Should remember that the gravitational potential energy is 0 on the surface of the ground. Why? So why this is 0 again at the surface of the earth? That is because height. So you have to consider the body at certain height, isn't it, to possess the potential energy. Now in this case, the body is on the surface. So what is the displacement? No displacement. H is equal to 0 from the surface of the earth. So we have to consider the gravitational potential 0 again on the surface of the ground also. Because the gravitational potential energy is given by, as I said, gravitational force into displacement. Both should be there. Okay. So Fg is of course m into g. So mass of the body into acceleration due to gravity. Okay. So this part mg is called actually the force due to gravity. Okay. And h is the displacement. So the second case, as I said, h is equal to 0, gravitational potential energy is equal to 0. Correct? So in that way we have to understand gravitational potential energy is 0 on the surface of the ground. Okay. And similarly 0 at infinity, because Fg is equal to 0 in that case, isn't it? So Gp is equal to 0 at these particular positions. In between infinity to the surface, the value of gravitational potential energy either increasing or decreasing. In which case it is increasing, decreasing, you just look at here. As the distance h, okay, that is nothing but actually the displacement, right? As the distance h of the body from the surface of the earth increases, gradually the distance is increasing. What happens? The gravitational force of the attraction due to the earth also, you can understand here, decreases. As you move away from surface of the earth, the gravitational force acting on the body decreases, right? And hence its corresponding gravitational potential energy increases here. Clear? So the negative value, I said, gravitational potential energy is always taken as the negative value. So that value of gravitational potential energy in fact decreases. In fact it is decreases. The value decreases, but it is finally becomes 0 at infinite separation. As h becomes infinity, then it becomes 0. Okay. So you have to understand that as h increases, right, as the distance h increases, the corresponding gravitational potential energy decreases. Okay. So gravitational force of attraction decreases. But what about Gp? Gravitational potential energy increases. Clear? Then how to calculate gravitational potential energy at two different heights, let us say, depending upon whether the body is moving away from surface of the earth or towards surface of the earth. Depending upon that, either there may be a gain in potential energy or there may be loss in potential energy. Okay. So let us make it clear now. So we'll consider the example like this. The earth is like this, surface of the earth is here. So from surface of the earth, so consider the height h1. Okay. So this is the given initial height. So where the body is considered at the height h1 of mass m, and the body is moving from height h1 to the height h2, moving away from surface of the earth, isn't it? Against to gravity it is, right? Against to gravitational force of attraction. So in that case, So what is the comparison? Height h2 is greater than h1, right? Then if we move the body from the lower height to higher height, then the gain in potential energy, you will get the gain in potential energy is given by final potential energy minus initial potential energy. Okay, so when the body reaches to the certain height h2, what is the potential energy? You can calculate as mgh2 based on this equation. Mgh, the height is now h2, so mgh2 final potential energy. So when the body is at h1, mg h1. Okay, so you take the difference of that. Mg is common. Okay, so mg into h2 minus h1 will give you the gain in potential energy. Okay, in the same example, suppose if the body is falling towards surface of the earth from the height h1 to h2. Okay, the height decreases here, h1 to h2. So initial height is now h1, the final height is h2. Okay, then there is a loss in potential energy. You should remember, there is a loss in potential energy. You can calculate it as again initial potential energy minus final potential energy. So initial potential energy is equal to mgh1 and minus mgh2 is the final potential energy at h2. Okay, again in this case mg is common, so that you will get h1 minus h2 in the bracket. So that is the loss in potential energy equation. So in that way we can calculate the potential energy at a given height or difference in potential energy when it is moving at two different heights also. Okay, above the surface of the ground. Clear? Okay, now look at the elastic potential energy. So potential energy possessed by a body in the deformed state. Okay, that means there is a change in size and shape. So that change in size and shape is called what? Deformed state of the body. So due to the application of the force, either we can change the shape. So but when the applied force is removed, what happens? So the body will regain its size and shape. Why? Because of its elastic property, right? So that kind of energy possessed by a body due to its elastic property, particularly due to elastic property, is called elastic potential energy. Clear? So make it clear once again. Potential energy possessed by a body in deformed state. Okay, deformed state due to change of its size and shape. So amount of work done is always to deform the size and shape of the body. Okay, that amount of work done by the applied force can be considered as now elastic potential energy. Okay, look at the examples also. You can consider either compressed spring or elongated spring also due to the applied force. Okay, the moment you remove the force, it will regain its shape. The spring will regain its original shape. Similarly, the stretched rubber or a string. Okay, so due to the applied force, it may be in the deformed state. The moment you remove the force, it will come back to its original shape. So that is the elastic property of the material, right? So that kind of energy stored in the material is called elastic potential energy. Clear? Okay, now look at the kinetic energy. So we can say the kinetic energy already defined as the energy possessed by the body due to its state of motion, right? So how to calculate that kinetic energy when the body is in motion? Let us see that expression for kinetic energy. Very simple derivation for you. Okay, so kinetic energy possessed by a moving body, you should understand that it is always equal to amount of work which the moving body can do before coming to rest. Okay, and the body is moving, so amount of work to bring it to rest, how much of work is done. So we have to calculate that amount of work. Okay, then we will get the value of kinetic energy of a moving body. So that means amount of work needed by the opposing force. Without any opposing force, the body cannot be will not come to rest, isn't it? So what is the amount of work needed by the opposing force? So based on that principle, based on that concept, we can calculate the kinetic energy. Okay, now let us see with an example. Consider a body of mass m. Okay, so it is acted by some force so that the body is moving like this, so with the velocity v. Okay, so coming to rest at this point, so that displacement from this point to this point, how much it is? S. So the body is coming to rest at this point means it is acted upon by certain retarding force. Okay, opposing force is called retarding force. So how do you calculate the retarding force? So it should be mass into retardation. Okay, So let us consider that mass into retardation as m into a. So that the retarding force will be equal to F is equal to ma. Okay, let it be equation number 1 for you. Okay, now the kinetic energy, as I said, so it should be equal to work done on the body before stopping it. Okay, what is the work done before coming to rest? So based on this equation, so you have to consider the force applied, retarding force applied on the body into the total displacement before coming to rest, correct? So you have to consider retarding force into displacement, that is F into S is the work done, correct? So let it be equation 2. So that our work done must be equal to the kinetic energy also, clear? Now, so let us consider the initial velocity of the body. So moving body is having the initial velocity. Okay, normally the initial velocity is taken as u. Okay, now the body is assumed to be moving with the velocity v, isn't it? Let it be v. And when it comes to rest, so what is the final velocity? 0, isn't it? So the final velocity v equal to 0. Okay, if you consider the initial velocity as u, then that is equal to v. And when the body is coming to rest after reaching to the destination, then the final velocity v is equal to 0. So then if you consider a as the retardation, already you are considering a as the retardation, then what is the acceleration? Okay, opposite to the retardation, right? So if a is the retardation, acceleration is equal to minus a. Assume the acceleration is equal to minus a, clear? Okay, now we have a standard relation in the equations of motion, that is v square is equal to u square plus 2as, where in this equation normally u is taken as the initial velocity and v is the final velocity and a is the acceleration and s is the displacement. Okay, now just substitute the values as per this discussion here. So substituting the final velocity v, how much? 0, and initial velocity u is taken as v. Okay, so that u square becomes v square here, and acceleration is equal to how much? Minus a. Instead of a, you have to take it as minus a, but here it is plus a, you know, plus a, so it will become minus a. So minus 2as is same displacement. So then if you rearrange the equation, you will get v square is equal to minus 2as. You take it in the left hand side, it will become v square is equal to 2as, clear? So again if you rearrange the equation for s is equal to, by cross multiplication, v square by 2a. So you can get the displacement s is equal to v square by 2a. Okay, let it be equation number 3. Now you look at the equations 1, 2 and 3. Okay, equation 1 is F is equal to ma. Equation 2, in which we get the kinetic energy as the product of force into displacement s. Okay, and s equation is in equation 3, s is equal to v square by 2a. Substituting these equations 1 and 3 in equation 2. Okay, so in equation 2, substituting it in equation 2, kinetic energy is equal to F into S. Substitute F as m into a. Okay, and then v square by 2a here. Substitute from equation 3, then you cancel that a. Okay, you will get m into, okay, v square by 2, or you can say half m v square. Simple, isn't it? Kinetic energy is equal to half m v square, mass into velocity square. You have to understand that kinetic energy directly proportional to the mass of the body, and also it is square of the velocity of the moving body. Okay, so the bigger mass of the body can possess the larger kinetic energy, and similarly the faster moving body with the greater velocity, you know, so that is also possessing more kinetic energy for you. Okay, so this is the expression for standard expression for kinetic energy of any moving body. You should remember it as half m v square. Clear? Okay, now look at one more relationship between kinetic energy and momentum. Okay, you know, so kinetic energy is given by half m v square is the standard equation, and similarly momentum is a well known equation for momentum also we have, that is p is equal to m into v, mass into velocity. Okay, now if you combine these two equations, okay, you will get the relationship between kinetic energy and momentum. Clear? So you just take the second equation, you can rearrange the equation as v is equal to p by m. Okay, then in the equation of kinetic energy, substitute that velocity here. So kinetic energy is equal to half m into v square is there, okay. So you can write it as p square by m square. As per the equation 3, it is p square by m square. Clear? Now you can just cancel one m, right? So you'll get kinetic energy is equal to p square by 2m, right? So by cross multiplication we can write p square is equal to 2mk also, or p is equal to square root of 2m into k, where k is the kinetic energy, okay. So you can remember all these equations. Either kinetic energy always consider as p square, where p is the momentum, p square by 2m, or momentum p is equal to square root of 2mk. Clear? So based on such equations we can have some discussion like if you have two different bodies of different weights, okay. Suppose if I consider a lighter body A and of mass m and heavy body of mass capital M, okay. So both have same momentum, let us say. When they are moving, lighter body and heavier body moving with the same momentum, okay. Then calculate the kinetic energies. So kinetic energy of body A, that is k is equal to p square by 2m. kb is the kinetic energy of the body B, okay, that is p square by 2m. Capital M indicates it is heavier body. So in this case momentum is same, so you can cancel p square and you can cancel 2 also. So left with, so m come to the numerator part, so small m go to the denominator part, so capital M by small m. So in this case, so capital M is heavy, isn't it? So capital M is greater than small m, therefore so correspondingly in the same ratio we can say kinetic energy of the body A, okay, should be greater than kinetic energy of the body B, okay. Even though the body is lighter mass, so kinetic energy of the body A is greater than the kinetic energy of the body B. Similarly, you would look at the second case. Suppose if the body A and B have same kinetic energy, that means same velocity, right? So you calculate the ratio now. So momentum P1 by momentum P2. Momentum is given by mass into velocity, so corresponding mass into velocity for the denominator also. So we can cancel V here, okay. So kinetic energy and velocity are same, just cancel the velocity, left with small m by capital M. So in the ratio, so m is greater than small m, therefore correspondingly we can say the denominator P2 is greater than P1. So momentum of the heavier body is greater than the lighter body, okay, if they move with the same velocity. Clear? So this is all about the kinetic energy and certain relations. So I will continue in the next video so that you can understand better what is the difference between potential energy and kinetic energy, and how we can convert the potential energy to kinetic energy also, okay. So till then you keep reading, okay. Thank you.